Hey, this is Lotus Comics Press. We're here live with Kerry Gammill, legend himself. Now, tell us a little bit about your artwork, your comic books, and what's going on currently with what's going on in the expo today.
Alright, well, yeah, I've been in comics for many years, worked a lot for Marvel and DC back in the 80s and 90s. But what I'm doing these days is I have a company called Monsterverse Entertainment, and we do horror books. This is our main comic, Bill Lugosi's Tales from the Grave. We have a license from the Lugosi estate to use this, the actor famous for playing Dracula and other horror movies back in the 30s and 40s. And
do they look as scary as me?
I don't know if that's possible. We try to make them as scary as we can. Because I grew up on the old comics in the 60s, Warren books like Creepy Magazine and Eerie, and they were sort of a rehash of the EC comics in the 50s, the Tales from the Crypt and everything. So that's something I never got to do at Marvel and DC, draw horror stories and monster things. And that's my main interest since I was a kid. Has always been monster movies and horror stories and things.
So the current event we're working on right now is the actual Monster magazine.
Right, it's a comic, it's like Tales from the Crypt where it's got 5 different stories in each issue, and Bela Lugosi introduces the stories. So it's little short horror stories with sort of a surprise ending, hopefully. We also publish a graphic novel series called Flesh and Blood that is inspired by the Hammer movies from the 50s and 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
Things like Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee. Those sort of British horror approach from that time is what inspired this. It's got Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein and Helsing. It's a very interesting story, though. It's all original. It's by Neil Vokes and Bob Neal, and it was just a perfect fit for our company, so we published them, published their books for them.
What I've heard you've done, let's name the greats here. You've done some of the Spider-Man stuff. You've done some of the DC Superman stuff.
Right.
Adventures of Superman. And those are great. That's what I grew up on. Those two right there, those were amazing stuff.
Well, I was a huge Marvel fan when I was like in 7th or 8th grade. The Spider-Man cartoons came on Saturday morning. The classic ones, the theme songs and whatever. And that's what introduced me to Spider-Man. I started buying comics at that time just because of
what were some of the inspirations of your ideas, stuff like that directed, interrelated back towards your comic books, such as Spider-Man or Superman, or even the new Tales from the Grave? I mean, I'm sure you have some inspiration that you got from just some of the ideas that you made.
Yeah, all the Stan Lee type stories back then were just. Of course, the big revolution in Marvel was that they seemed more like real people.
Right.
It wasn't, your typical, drink milk and obey all the rules kind of superheroes. It was just real people with real problems. Spider-Man had, this neurosis and lived with his aunt and had trouble, paying their rent and stuff. And the Fantastic Four were always arguing, and things just seemed more like they could really exist. And they had that sort of soap opera element that you wanted to see what happened to these characters. And so that was what I enjoyed when I got into actually drawing the comics. Just getting to do those characters and be part of that.
Do you have a favorite?
Probably Spider-Man. So when I eventually got to draw Spider-Man, I drew a book called Marvel Team Up. It had Spider-Man and a different guest star every issue. And that was just so much fun for me, drawing him, swinging around on those webs and everything. That just gave me such a kick when I was a kid. Part of that, same with Superman. I grew up with the Superman TV show that all the baby boomers like me, just George Reeves was Superman. So to get to draw the comics, I never was a big reader of the Superman comics, but I had my share of them. But then the Superman movies came out with Christopher Reeve, got really big.
See, that's generally more my generation.
Right.
It's Christopher Reeve, but heavy influence for me was George Reeves, Christopher Reeves. Do you have a favorite superhero yourself? Other than actually outside of drawing and stuff like that?
Well, probably the George Reeves Superman.
Yeah, I would agree.
To me, he was
really good.
He was just Superman. As a kid growing up, that's what it seemed like Superman should be. And I tried to get a little of that in when I drew the comic character.
Right.
There's something about Reeves' personality. He had this sort of maturity and a little sort of world weariness about him. There's something. He seemed like the parent. Lois and Jimmy were the kids, and he had to always get him out of trouble and keep up with them. And Reeves was a little older. At the time, he was in his 40s, and so I always saw Superman with this certain maturity, and so a little of that, I think is in my version of him. Some of Christopher Reeve, because he physically was just so perfect as Superman, and I think the best Superman artwork in the comic was Neil Adams. He would do a lot of the covers.
Sure.
And that Muhammad Ali versus Superman comic is one of the greatest comics ever done. So,
but I also hear that you've done some of your artwork actually in some video games and stuff like that, like Batman Forever. Just like probably threw some of your artwork in there as well.
I started when I was doing a lot of Superman work at DC. I ended up doing a lot of work for the licensing board, and so I did stuff that would be on products and T-shirts and things. And if they had a client that came and needed some special art done for these characters, then I would do a lot of that. And the Batman Forever video game didn't have enough secondary characters for the villains for them to fight as they were building up to the top levels of the game. So they needed some characters like henchmen for Two-Face and the Riddler. So I did designs for those.
Very awesome. Now, your comic book here that you're currently creating, is there going to be a website that people can go for Tales from the Grave?
Yeah, the company's called Monsterverse, so you can find us at monsterverse.com. And we also have a Facebook page, and it says Comics from the Monsterverse. And Facebook. And my personal website is Kerry Gammill.
Okay.
But you want me to follow
the art, various things.
So it's called Tales from the Grave.com?
No, it's Monsterverse.com.
Monsterverse.com. Okay, Monsterverse.com.
Yeah, Monsterverse is the publisher company.
Okay.
The comic is related to
like one of my favorite things, like the right.
Guys, it's Monsterverse.com. I hope I got that right.
That's right.
And KerryGammill.com. Come check this guy out. He's absolutely a legend, amazing in the realm of comic books. I grew up on this guy, actually reading Superman, reading his artwork, actually in the comics, and I'm a little kind of high and warranted here because I've always wanted to meet him. And here at Lotus Comics, we actually do promote local art, as well as if you're in I guess the only last question I really have for you is, if you want to get into comic books and in that realm of comic books and stuff like that, do you have any advice for the new readers, the new artists, the new people that want to get into that world of comic books?
It's been so long since I started that things have changed incredibly. So I'm not sure what the best advice would be to give the people now that want to get in, except to take advantage of things like the internet. Anybody can put their stuff out there. So
right.
I think most people know about things like deviant art or just Facebook and things. You can do your own digital comic books now without having to put a lot of money into it. So just to get your stuff known, everyone has a good platform now. Just upload things and then put people through it. But as far as actually getting in with the companies and engaging with shows, I don't have any special advice to give. It's just there's so much open communication now that it's pretty easy to contact these people. Just if you've got good word, you're able to put it in front of people. It shouldn't have much of a problem.
Yes, sir. Well, you heard it here first on LotusComics.com. Come check us out. We'll see you next time at the Sci-Fi Expo. This is amazing stuff, guys. Come check them out, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.